Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spinner Rack. We also have,
Calvin Ellis, ready to rock.
all right, we're about to do the new Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein from Netflix trailer. Ready, set, and we're off.
I had determined that the memory of my evils should die with me. Some of what I will tell you is fact. Some is not, but it is all true. Man of devil. Right there. Right. I created that.
Bill, what did you say, sir?
I'm a fan of Frankenstein movies. I'm sorry, I'll say Frankenstein just so I don't have to show off my background. But I'm a big fan of the Frankenstein movies, going all the way back to the Boris Karloff movies. Did you see the one with Robert De Niro?
Yeah.
Yes, I've seen. I think I've yeah, I've seen a bunch of them. I would like to say I've seen all of the English versions, but I haven't seen this. I haven't seen any silence. I'm not even certain if they exist. So I'll definitely be seeing this because it's in line with me just really enjoying this story. I hope, I really hope they don't take too many liberties with it. I think the story is very good in terms of not needing any tweaking, and that they really save that for the visuals, the cinematography, maybe even the monster design. Nobody's ever rendered Frankenstein's monster in the manner in which he's described inside of the books. No one's done that yet. So maybe they'll try to go that portion with it. But hopefully they'll realize this is a good story. We don't need to tinker around with this, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff we can play with in terms of rendering that story visually. But yeah, I'm interested in seeing this.
I was very hyped to see this. I think um definitely been a while since I think I saw the Frankenstein movie on television. And then obviously the was it Kenneth Branagh, his Frankenstein with De Niro. And it wasn't necessarily De Niro's best ever effort, but he had its moments. The only thing I didn't like was when they did the bride part of it, which I think was pushing it too far. Even though the elements are there, it's not really where he never really went that far with it was a bridge too far for Victor, in the book. So I always liked the way in the book it was like, no, I'm not doing that, which led to what was going on. So I mean, I'm just worried that it might be a little too much go to the action because the book, having the opportunity to be able to do the book portion of it, having someone who was a creature who was kind of disillusioned, which was a fun part of the book where the monster is just like, I'm trying to figure this out. and and doesn't realize that, well, he realizes he looks like a wretch, but he hopes from his actions things can go well. And then it starts going left. So he's like, all right, if that's what y'all want, I'm apt to do it. And I got speed on my hand. You're gonna try to leave town? I can get to that town you're going to. But
You read the book?
yeah.
Yeah, I was. The creation of this monster is in line with almost every sci-fi story I've read of similar nature. Where I always ask, why did you create this guy and he's going to be so much bigger and stronger than that right there is like that never crossed your mind? Like, hey, what if this doesn't work out? I just created something that's 8 feet tall, you know, and preternaturally strong. So that I always found to be funny. And I've seen this across the field of a whole bunch of sci-fi stories. We're like, oh no, look what we created this thing. It's out of control. It's like, why didn't you think of that?
Well, I think when he decided that he had the issue with it, and that was kind of the part where I was kind of like, no, don't. he's like, he's like, even though don't, at first he was saying it's like he was feeling powerful, happy with it, and then after it was all done, it's kind of and that's the other thing in the book, it kind of happens so quickly. Whereas obviously we've gone to the stage where we say it makes sense where we revitalize people with electricity to play up those visuals. But it's just like we, kids, you go back. Which part? Where is it? Where's the electric? He's like, we're talking about the patchwork. Like, where's the lightning? I need to see that portion. But you really get into the monster and go through his portion of the story because his character is really interesting in the book. But it's like a person kind of exploring mankind and gaining all this ability and language and all this other stuff, obviously. Whereas, the movie, which is obviously from the people seeing it and not being able to see the original versions where he's like trying to figure things out. And in the movie where you have the powerful scenes. But I will say what you were saying, I think Mel Brooks and more so Gene Wilder, because Gene Wilder definitely wanted to do this movie. He wanted to do it with all the old tech that they had for the thing, but the bit that they had in there where they're talking about the monsters, and he said, well, if you make a monster that big, he's also gonna have a big, and they're like, maybe so. He switched Frankenstein right. That's like one of my favorite movies that got to see in the theater as a kid. And they say also Gene Hackman said, "I want to do this scene, the scene with the blind man," which is obviously a powerful movie. But yeah, I got big hopes for this. I do always have to point out that Shape of Water is just Abe Sapien from from my Hellboy. He had to steal the character from from Mike Mignola, and their friendship is no longer. But yeah, he's a strong filmmaker. I'm pretty sure he's gonna have some action in here, but and have obviously having this scene here on the boat, the confrontation. But that's the thing that I really liked in the, even though they don't, I don't know if I don't remember if that scene was in the book where he said he didn't give me a name, but that was the most powerful part of the Kenneth Branagh one when he sees them in the, I think they capturing the Aiden Quinn's character, capturing that portion of the book where the guy is, he didn't get to have those moments, but the having the other character wanting to have a friend and having that without saying it. They really just had him talking to them and having Aiden's character bring out that, even though he's telling them this terrible story, and then the creature comes and they're like, this is, it's not just him all out. But that's what I say. All that to say is that there's a lot of things that I'm hoping, and I know it's going to look amazing. and it's just like just don't go too far with your hijinks to have the monster that's any other, because the monster does some cool stuff in between his trying to soul searching. So you might not have to have him kill 50 and 60 people because it's in the movie in the present day. Say, no, we got to up the ante. We got to up the ante. Like he's thinking too much. He's thinking man's monster too much. We got to have him kill him. Yes, yes. So bang, bang. I got the Ron Howard, actually move, 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 action, action, action. That's sort of a portion of it. But yeah, I'm expecting a lot of good things. It looks good. I'm a little. I will say, like Pedro Pascal, Oscar Isaac is kind of overused, but he looks really good in this thing. He looks like the mad scientist. I'm not sure what this is. Do you know what this is in the story?
Can't make out that. Hold on, let me widen my screen.
Does look cool, but I'm not sure what it is.
I am not. I'm not sure. That might be something. That might be something new for the film because I don't recall anything like that from the book.
Yeah. All right. So
I don't recall anything as something being torched. But if they keep with the themes
mhm,
of the actual, well, it's tough because a lot of those themes, people think that they already answered those questions, and so one of the big questions, like, dude, you can't play God. You can't just come over. You have ambition, you have a curiosity for knowledge, but you're doing things that are outside of your purview, and you're not thinking about the consequences of your actions.
mhm.
Right? And then, the other things that come into play, the other things that come into play with the creature. But if, Victor Frankenstein, for all of his intellect, is not using, he's not using common sense and saying, hey, wait a second. If this goes left, what then? Okay, I'm creating a life. What is supposed to happen when I create this life? And this is not a baby. This is not going to be a baby that I'm going to get to raise up, nurture, and educate. I'm actually creating life in an adult form, which is diametrically opposed to the way life happens. So he's able to do it, but he never questions if he should do it or why should he do it. If they keep that in the film, then I think that'll be really enjoyable because a lot of times, especially today, because we have all of this technology at our fingertips and we don't question anything. Or how long has GPT been out? Hasn't even been it hasn't even been 2 years, right?
I wouldn't know. Yeah, I know that people use it a lot though.
Do you know people are using it for dating advice?
Um, um,
People are going to chat GP and saying, hey, how do I ask this girl out? People are using it for life advice. They're saying, hey, this is what this guy said to me in my relationship. What should I do? They're asking chat GPT. And chat GPT is just a very sophisticated program. It's not a person.
yeah,
But you look at this type of stuff and you're like, all right, we're at that point, I think, in society in terms of the communications technology, where they're just like, hey, let's just put it out there. It works. We can monetize it. We make a lot of money, but nobody's really asking the question, should we do this? Are there any ramifications for it? And so I like when they do that when it comes to, intellectual ambition, technology, because a lot of people don't question it. And then they start doing the questions after the fact. And we know how it works. Then everybody wants to sue. Well, the monster in the movie, he's the guy who wants to sue.
well, I think that's the other thing is you're saying to answer the questions. I think the way even though they were able to get some of the same some of the same things by answering the question of having Victor having the struggles in the what's the name in Young Frankenstein and having an abnormal brain in the creature, still saying this creature could be taught, and then still finding a way to have another big scene after the putting on the Ritz where the people kind of decide. So I'm not expecting that for this movie because obviously it's going to be serious, but um, ultimately
I
whether
would hope so.
Huh?
I would hope so.
But as vicious as the monster could get, you also have to remember that at some point, that's how the classic Frankenstein monster became such a classic because we still, despite any terrible and vicious things he might have done, we still kind of feel for the character and the acting that was put forth in that performance. So this is one of the things that you can get to, but I think Guillermo can figure out how to push it even further than that. But he also likes to say have someone be pincushioned until they fight back type of thing, which is not always. It's always kind of the easy way to go. But obviously, if that portion is not, he's not a pincushion, but at the same time, he tries to help out people and it goes left. So, but anyway, we have that, and we have a filmmaker that's going to have a lot of mise en scene. So we're going to have something that's going to look amazing, and hope that the rest of the story matches up with this. And you know, yeah, it looks like it's going to be good. They can't slack with all the talent involved and the director involved. They can't do Jupiter's Legacy, where hey, we want to do this for X amount of money. Like you got these big names, you got to do something with it. So anyway, check it out. I don't have a date on this, but we just got a teaser, and we probably will get some more to explain what's going on here. But this obviously is the end portion where they had their final meeting. So anyway, spinner rack.
We're out.
Oh, side note, before we're out, do you think he's gonna do more of them? He's gonna think of it like the other one and try to do more Frankenstein movies? He's not a sequel guy, but do you think he's gonna say they know that Frankenstein has been a franchise? Are they gonna go do a one and done like the other movies have been? Outside of
If
the original, which it
it,
did Frankenstein, Frankenstein Monster, and the Bride. What's up?
well, those if it depends. If they follow the storyline, this isn't one and done. If they decide they want to keep the door open for future films, they'll end it in a manner in which you can get to the other stuff. Which I hope they don't. I hope this is one and done.
All right. Spinner rack again, we are out.